And there goes the last siege tank, but there is still a handful of Marines and 4 medevacs left, and the Zerg really has nothing left to deal with it, but the Terran opting to retreat.
I mean, there's so many spines. I mean, there is a good pile of infestors back there, not to mention a quick remax on, not quite 4 racks, but quite a bit of Zerglings coming out. Probably a good idea to pull back. At least towards a little more tank support.
Yeah, definitely. With the Zerg opting to go for a Zergling-heavy build, it's really interesting because that's a really larva dome. Once again, the Zerglings and the Banelings meeting into another bio ball supported by about 3 tanks here. Tanks are going to start sieging up on that creep.
I mean, from Oscar's perspective too, I mean, he has +3 attack just about done. He may want to just buy a little bit of time until that finishes if he can keep the pressure on.
Certainly. Going back to the build choice here by Shibby's, with the Zergling build being very, very heavy on larva, it's really interesting because he hasn't opted for a macro hatch. He doesn't even have a queen at his 3rd expansion. Excuse me, he does. He doesn't have a queen at the natural. That was the one that didn't have one. And overall,
he does have.
Sorry. The larva situation, not the best for trying to get some Zerglings going here. Spinecrawlers are going to try to push into the siege tank line, but these 3 Broodlords are going to be able to push the tanks back. No Viking production at this point, but the Marines are going to stem right under these Broodlords. Big fungals coming in. Banelings are going to come in along with Zerglings, and those Broodlords are starting to be raining down. Big Baneling hits, huge fungals coming out right now. The Zerg is looking in a very favorable position to clean up this entire army. That was an incredibly favorable engagement for the Zerg.
We do see 2 Vikings building now, but it's certainly one of those situations of perhaps too little too late if he's going to really get enough out to put those Broodlords back across the map.
The Infestors,
2 Thors as well, that's interesting.
The Infestors actually only have enough energy for 3 fungals at this point, and there is nothing else to tank for the Broodlords if the Marines were to stem right under those Broods. There's no Zergling, there's no Roaches, and that is what is going to happen right here. Marines just coming in from all angles, and there's not enough things to protect those Broodlords, nothing to tank for them, and the Infestors actually walking away after only using 1 fungal. A little bit of an odd decision.
You see 4 more morphing over here, and the Infestors hitting under them, so perhaps deciding just to try to fight another day on this one.
Yeah, certainly. And once again, with these queens, they're just not injecting properly. He needs some macro hatches. He's on 6 bases right now. Only 4 of them are mining, but with 6 bases, you need to have at least 2 macro hatches, if not 3, maybe even 4. Especially if you're not hitting all these injects. The queen in the main is full energy, 200 out of 200. The queen at the natural, 200 out of 200. And like I said, there's only 3 queens on the map. The other queen is having to inject both the 3rd and the gold base. Baneling's actually being run into Marines here, and no, not going to connect.
Oh, we're going to see this base just get totally torn down here.
Yeah. It was a nice scan there. Just making sure that there weren't going to be any kind of Baneling bombs. But there's going to be a Zergling run by going right across the middle, and there is no protection from the Terran here. Let's see if he can get this wall up in time. Not going to happen. Big Zergling.
Oh no, nothing like that.
That's going to be absolutely devastating. This is going to be a giant pain in the ass to clean up. Surprised that the Zerglings aren't going for the big SCV count that's still there in the main. Already cleaned up the SCVs in the natural. Instead opting to go for some of the production buildings. Does end up taking...
I mean, I think the production building is smart here because, like I said, I mean, there's about 6 or 7. A few more at the natural, but on the other hand, you can take out those spaceports in factory.
That's true. He does end up getting 1 barracks, 1 spaceport, a tech lab, a reactor.
And you may still even get this factory.
I'm really surprised the Terran's
not it's looking good. Yeah.
Got 9 Vikings right above the Zerglings who's not landing them. Could have saved that factory.
Definitely a little bit of indecision there, and this, again, the production recovery time is going to be a factor.
Definitely. It looks like we actually did miss a drop in the main from the Zerg. The Roach Warrant actually really, really low on life. And you see 3 Queens sitting right next to it, all at full energy, not transfusing that Roach Warrant. Really odd decision making. And there's a lot going on here for the Zerg. These are only Masters players, high Diamond, low Masters players. So I wouldn't expect them to be executing perfectly here. No Dong Regu, but you know, get those transfuses going. Heal up your Roach Warrant.
Yeah, you see there's 4 barracks being dropped in the front of the base, and you just saw your own, your favorite little pet peeve you pointed out earlier. At the 4th there, all the workers ran back to the 3rd because he had not quite landed that orbital yet.
Yeah. And you do actually see a Spine Crawler Flower coming up at the 2 o'clock position. Going to make sure to be defending that hatchery from all angles. And, you know, that might actually save the hatchery from dying from this drop if those Spine Crawlers were finished. Unfortunately, they're not. And the Marines are going to focus them down, and that's 800 wasted resources.
Yeah, that's when you're going to get a lot of these. Sure, but
Oh, 1 Marine.
still not a terrible trade. 2 spines. Well, yeah, 1 Marine for 2 spines and 6 or 7 drones there.
No,
I'd make that.
I think that's a trade that I'd make any day of the damn week.
Yeah, all day long.
And we do see the Zerg.
There's a factory back up. No add-ons on any of these new barracks. It's interesting.
Drop play coming in here on the 4th base of the Terran. At the same time, SCV being sacrificed to the main, and a big drop, Doom drop, 3 full medevac coming into the 2 o'clock expansion for the Zerg. Zerg is going to counter drop with full Zergling Overlords into the main of the Terran. Big engagement over here at the 8 o'clock position. Thor's going up against Roaches and Infestors. Those Roaches are really going to get absolutely jimmied.
The Thors are really, really cleaning that up without a whole lot of trouble. But he did lose the CC, he lost a bunker, he lost a turret, he lost a refinery.
To interrupt you, in the Terran main, we do have full unloads of Zerglings. Those are 2-3 Zerglings with adrenal glands. At the same time, Infestors going into the 2 o'clock position here for the Zerg, and the hatchery does fall. Wasted a couple of bundles trying to get the medevac and the Marines all cleaned up. Zerglings taking out a large...
Now we get another big production.
Yeah, definitely.
Factory, another barracks is going to go down, tech lab. Some supply depot. Perhaps the only thing that he lost that he's not going to care about is that empty refinery.
Yeah, once that's been mined out, really not a whole lot of use. Might save him from something like a base race in the long run, but overall, not too much use. Another command center going to be floated out to the 8 o'clock position for the Terran. But at the same time...
Whether he goes orbital or planetary on this one.
Yeah, sure.
And he is going planetary.
I think that's a wise decision at this point.
I agree.
Both of these players floating large amounts of minerals and gas. I'm really interested to see that the Zerg just is not maxed out. He's been supply blocked at 186 for about 5 minutes now. And look at that, neural parasite in the middle of the building command centers. This is not going to work because as soon as those SCVs go away, the command centers aren't going to be completed. This will only work against Protoss, but it was an interesting thought, but overall, kind of a waste. That was 800 minerals that he just threw down the drain right there.
And you only got to cancel on that 3rd one, you're right, so that's a rather expensive experiment.
Yeah, definitely. We have 5 Overlords carrying 20 Roaches going up to the top right-hand corner, going to be dropping into the Terran main once again, but there are still Zerglings in the Terran main. Look at that. There's just one just kind of going on that barracks. It's now going to be chasing down a Marine.
Another one too sitting over by the empty refinery who's now moving out against that bunker. Or excuse me, barracks.
Yeah. And here come the Roaches. Roaches not the most effective against upgraded Marines. Those 3-3 Marines probably going to be able to clean up
a huge drop. In the Terran main, I think this is the end of those barracks and factory.
Those barracks are going down.
And probably that army that is about a quarter of the way through Tank 3 upgrade.
Definitely. So meanwhile, back at
I mean, really, the position here is looking increasingly better for the Zerg as he takes up more and more infrastructure and is able to sit with that huge remax ability.
yeah, and I mean, if you look at the 4 o'clock position, there are about 20 spine crawlers in the way. Terran's attacking right into every one of those spine crawlers, and I kind of think that this is a bad decision. So many infestors
I mean, he
can go
didn't.
solve this. Big fungal on those Vikings.
I
He's
think-
able to continue that fungal. Oh, look at those fungals. Just absolutely beautiful on every one of those units. And those spine crawlers doing so much work, but there are so many medevacs. There are still 10 medevacs in the background. And big flank coming here from the
I mean,
Roach.
here's the Roach.
Behind.
He grabs all the tanks. He did move the tanks, which was a mistake. Although an understandable one, given how much is going on right now.
And the drop coming in here from the Overlords, going to be dropping in from right behind, and the Thor pickup. But look at that, the fungal.
Oh, he got hit by a fungal.
And that's going to be really, really bad for this Terran.
And it's down to 60. Very difficult for him to come back from this at this point.
Yeah, down to 92 supply. Of that, there's almost exclusively SCVs. His production has been absolutely ravaged throughout this game. And with the Zerg floating almost 3,500 gas, his mineral production, or harvesting, is going to be sufficient enough so that he's going to be able to keep on being maxed for quite a while. Was keeping all those gas units alive. He only lost 2 infestors in that last engagement. He's looking at a very commanding lead.
Yeah, and these 4 racks are now going to get just pulverized by these Zerglings and Roaches,
Oh, he's actually
which is really
right
basically the
outside.
last. Oh, you're right, he is interesting. The one burning.
Okay, now he turns back around for them. If you actually look at the old gold base here for the Terran, he's got 3 supply depots with call down supply on them.